Hello, Yellows, and welcome to yet another TNC opposition preview, a festive special, as you can see by my attire. Sorry for the audio listeners. Go and check out the visual on this jumper. Yes, it's from the Canary Store. No, this isn't endorsed, although it definitely should be. Last time out, it was a draw against Newcastle, very much a 50-50 split in terms of people being buzzing about it, a good solid point away from home, or really frustrated about it. And now it's time to see what we've got. Can we beat Spurs away from home? It's a big ask, and who better to get all of the Tottenham insight than huge Spurs fan and host of the Fighting Cock podcast, Flav, and I think your second name's Bateman.
It's not my surname. No, it's not. My surname is Flavel. My first name's Gary or Gareth. And it's just what I call myself on Twitter. So whenever I get invited to do things, not even just like, on this sort of stuff, it's very informal and whatnot, but I've done bits and pieces for sort of broadcasters of significant note. And that's not me blowing smoke up my own arse. It's just simply saying that I've gone on sort of Sky and BBC and whatnot, and they use that Flav Bateman as if it's my name. It's the weirdest name under the sun, but it is what it is. It's fine. It's fine.
For the TNC fans that have just tuned into this, this is just a bit of a weird one because, of course, we have a little pre-chat before we actually record, and I always make sure the name is correct. And Flav was like, "No, that's not my name." And you were quite shocked that Jack and I weren't brothers, weren't you?
Yeah, I've known Jack for a long, long time. Like maybe 6 or 7 years I've known him now, right? And I've spent a significant amount of time with him, and I was just. This isn't news to him. I brought this up with him before, but he has got the strongest handshake I've ever experienced in my life. It's painful. I brought this up a lot, and we talked about this a lot. And I was just wondering if it ran in the family, and that's why I was asking you whether or not, what's going on in your family. And then apparently you're not brothers, so that's blown my mind. That's like I'm on the back foot now.
Oh, this has been a random start to the Oppo, but I absolutely love it. Flav, what is the mood like in the world of Tottenham Hotspur at the moment? Summarise how you are feeling about this season.
This season, I think we're being philosophical. I think that's the best way to put it. We started the season under Nuno, a manager that really... he was our 8th choice manager. It's really hard to describe how we're feeling right now without really going into what happened in the first 3 months of the season. And, the last part of last season where we sacked Jose Mourinho, we had Ryan Mason in charge, and then the search for a new manager began. We got in a director of football in Paratici, and then our manager search began in earnest. But bearing in mind, 6 weeks had passed since we'd sacked Jose Mourinho. And then every manager we were linked with, Conte being one of them, we, Fonseca, Gattuso, and then
yes,
there was that Eddie Howe, Ten Hag, Brendan Rodgers. It was just never ending. Every day you woke up and there was another manager we were linked with. And the one thing you could say about Daniel Levy, whether you like him or not, and there's lots of Spurs fans out there that don't like him, it is that he always had a plan. He had a plan. Like if something happened, if something major happened, like we sacked Pochettino, we'd bring in Jose Mourinho within 24 hours. A plan was there, and then he sacked Jose, and there was suddenly apparently no plan, and it went on for weeks and weeks, and then eventually we hired Nuno. Remembering that I might be going into too much detail, but all this stuff's important to understand the mindset of where Spurs are at, and Spurs fans are at currently.
Yeah.
What we needed to see was entertaining football. What we wanted was entertaining football. We'd had 18 months under Jose Mourinho of some of the worst football I've ever seen in my life. But you're willing to sort of give it a go because he's a serial winner. He's never been to a team and not won a trophy ever, apart from his stint at Tottenham. First team he's ever managed professionally as a club and not won something. And that just goes to show how Spurs are. But it was like you're willing to forgive this awful football because he wins. And then he didn't win. And then you're like, oh, all right, well, that was all a waste of time because I didn't enjoy any of it and we didn't get anything out at the end of it. So let's get in a manager who's progressive and exciting, like Fonseca could have been. And then we went for Nuno, who we know, and you'll know through your time, of playing them in the Championship, as while they did amazingly well that season, and they played a somewhat attacking formation. It was always a pragmatism. It was always about getting the most out of a situation rather than being speculative in your attack. And then when he comes to Tottenham and he realizes the squad isn't quite there and it needs investment if you want to go on and win titles and whatnot, and we aim to do that. Obviously, it might never, probably will never happen, but you have to aim to do it. And you look at our squad and it isn't there. So he did what he needed to do. He reverted back to type. And, we beat Man City on the opening day of the season, only team to do that this season. And I think, lost Palace as well, didn't they? But it was just like, we won that. And then it just went, we won the next two as well, 1-0. But you felt like, hang on, this is not going to work. Even when he wins the manager of the month, it's not going to work. And it unfolded dramatically, getting beaten 3-1 Arsenal, 3-0 Chelsea. We sort of limped past Watford. But anyway, the point is, we sacked him 3 months after he joined, and then Conte came in. Now, you're at such a low ebb as a Spurs fan at that point, with no ambition about the season, no expectation about the season, and then we get a manager that shouldn't be at Tottenham by rights. Like, he's too, I don't want to say too good, because the club is huge and there's massive infrastructure around the pitch. But on the pitch, he shouldn't be there. He should be managing better players than he is currently. So we were amazed when we got him. So to answer your question in a very long-winded way, I'm sorry about that, is we are excited to have him here and to see what he can do with us. But there is so much work to do. And so we're at the beginning of that journey.
And there really is much. It's very obvious that there's much work to do on so many levels, Flav. And I say that with respect. Last time out in the league, and by the way, time of recording is worth noting here for the TNC subscribers. We're recording this on a Wednesday. We're hoping it's going to be up on Thursday. It might be out on Friday. Who knows when Jack will get back from Dubai to actually do some work. But last time out in the league for you, before you're playing Brentford, you played Leeds. You narrowly won 2-1. By the way, we're ignoring the Europa Conference League. We're leaving that alone, Flav. But I want to talk to you about that Leeds victory. Yeah. What are you going to take from that and bring into this Norwich game? Do you think Conte will look at that and say, well, actually, if we beat Leeds in that way, we could probably beat Norwich in that way too?
In the second half of that game against Leeds, we could have matched any team in the Premier League. Not to say that we would, if we played that way, we'd beat Liverpool or Manchester City. But we held our own. We looked good. We looked really, really good. Like it looked like actually, if the Conte can get a tune out of these players, and that's not to say these players are poor. It's just, as a collective, it's not working for them. It just the balance isn't right, whatever it might be. But in the second half, you're thinking, there's that's what he's trying to do, and it was full of passion and integrity, and not integrity, intensity, and they're like cliched statements for supporters to throw at good performances, isn't it? That's what we always do. There's a lot of passion on the pitch. They really they cared today. Like it's bollocks. It doesn't mean anything. But
mate, I love passion. Don't come on here saying we don't love passion.
We love passion, but it doesn't mean anything. It's a platitude. It means nothing. In the footballing world, it means nothing, right? But it's a good thing when we're talking about it. When me and you are talking about it, Chris,
we love it.
We know what it means to us, but in real terms, I don't think it means a great deal in football, right? But it's there was enough in that second half. The first half was terrible. And Leeds were missing 5 or 6 of their first team, but their intensity and the style that you expect to see under Bielsa was evident, and we struggled to deal with it. And Conte at halftime made not personnel changes, but made changes to the way we played, and we started playing Leeds at their own game essentially, is forcing them off the ball and moving it more quickly through the midfield. And things worked out better, and we were deserving of our win. We hit the post. We've hit this other thing is like luck in a game of inches. In the 2 games against Everton and Leeds, Everton we drew 0-0. we hit the woodwork 5 times in those 2 games. If all of those had gone in, if those obviously they didn't go in and it's irrelevant, but if they had, if we were inches on our side, you're talking about 5 goals in those 2 games as opposed to the 2. So if you're a glass half full kind of person, I am, then you look at that and think, all right, there's something happening, but it's a slow progress. It's going to take time, and it's going to take. We need players. We need players better than the ones we've got if we want to finish in the top 4. And the amount of money that goes into the footballing side of Tottenham means that we should be definitely in that conversation.
Flav, I never thought you'd come on this channel asking for a couple of extra inches, but there you go, you have.
Our sister podcast is called The Extra Inch, and my podcast is called The Fighting Cock. So there you go.
Oh dear, there you go. There's monetization out the window.
Oh shit! I'm sorry.
Dean, don't worry about it. Dean Smith is clearly going to be watching this. So how can Norwich hurt Spurs on Sunday? Fill Dino in. What do we need to do to beat Tottenham?
I don't think he needs me to see ways that he can beat Tottenham. I think it's evident for everybody to see. And that would be to press. Do not sit back. Don't give us too much respect. Right now, we are disjointed. Conte hasn't had the time on the pitch or on the training pitch with them to implement these ideas. You've seen small changes, subtle changes. The passing has more intent to it. There's more deliberacy in the build-up play, but some of the hangover of Jose Mourinho and Nuno is still there, and we can be got at because of that. So if I was Dean Smith, I would be brave and bold. On paper, given Norwich's start to the season, you wouldn't expect to get anything from White Hart Lane this game, but you can if you're aggressive and believe
it's 3-point lane now, isn't it, Flav?
I mean, it's for almost everybody. Yeah. It was always that. But then Pochettino came in and fixed Spurs, and then we turned into a different beast. We'll get back to those halcyon days of Pochettino. Don't worry. But at the moment, this is definitely a good time to play Tottenham. And I would say to be aggressive and give absolutely zero respect. If you back off and allow us to play, and if you back off, if you sit tight and hit us on the break, you're not exploiting the frailties in our midfield, which will be Højbjerg and Skip. Both players have great quality in the defensive aspect of the game, in the metronomic aspect of the game, which is recycling play. But
that stuns me. That stuns me that you've called out Skip, because Skip is the best thing since sliced bread for Norwich City. And I must say, thank you for giving us Skip, because he is a big reason why
I want to say thank you to you for turning him into a player that can definitely 100% be a part of our starting lineup 80% of the time. You did whatever happened down at Carrow Road for Skip, it was fantastic for him, because he is a different player than when he left Spurs. I didn't think he had enough to be in our first team, and he's been one of the bright lights this season. So don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that Skip isn't good enough to play for Spurs, but in a midfield 4, if you're playing a 3-4-3 and his partner is Højbjerg, then there is opportunities for other teams to get in and amongst that. We're quite relatively defensive players, right? So without that attack, sorry if you can hear my dog drinking.
That's all right.
He's having a little drink. Yeah.
What's the breed of dog?
He's a staff, Frank.
Oh, lovely.
But he's on tablets at the moment, but so he's really thirsty. But anyway, that doesn't matter. I digress. So there's opportunities in midfield basically for our creativity is limited because Højbjerg and Skip aren't Ndombele and Lo Celso, but they are better at doing that at the moment in that system. So there's opportunities there, but if you sit back and don't attack those two, then you're giving them freedom of the ball, and we can get more creative players in play. That's what I would do. The risk of doing that, though, is that you've got Son, Lucas Moura, and especially Harry Kane to deal with on the other side if we manage to break through your press.
I was going to ask that, Flav. Like, Would you say there is a Spurs player in form as such that Norwich need to be especially worried about?
Absolutely not. There is no informed players at Tottenham currently.
Right, perfect. Cheers. Can you just give us the 3 points now, then?
Yeah, you don't need to be worried about an informed fire player currently, but you do need to be worried by the fact that even if Harry Kane isn't in form for Tottenham, he's still unbelievable, and Heung-min Son is unbelievable. And out of the two, he's the least playable at the moment. Harry Kane is suffering a little crisis in that he isn't the player he was a year ago, and he will become that player again, no doubt. But a lot's gone on in the summer. But with Son, is that if he starts running and he's bit between the teeth, he can be unplayable, and you have to worry about him.
Sonny's world class, and I'm not on here to bash the opposition much, and I will always compliment them where it's due. I'm a huge fan of Sonny. I think he's an exceptional player. But you bring up a very good point, Flav, Harry Kane, and rather than talk about the Man City saga, he's struggling to perform, etc., I think a really good thing to talk about is, of course, Harry Kane came on loan to Norwich City at one point.
Yeah, he did.
And his highlights include missing an absolute stone wall sitter against West Ham, which I will never, ever, ever, ever forgive him for. And of course, leading the line against Luton at home when we lost. So, Flav, how has Harry Kane gone from quite frankly, a quite feeble, timid player to the captain and prolific goal scorer that we're so proud represents our country today?
In 2011, February 2011, I put a tweet out that said, "I know Harry Kane is young, but he will never make it at Tottenham."
Oh, really?
Yeah. And to this day, it still gets retweeted. Every now and then it will pop up. If Harry Kane has a good game, someone will go and find it. The answer is I don't know how he did it. I don't know, because we were all acutely aware that he went on loan all over the place.
Yeah.
His best loan spell was at Millwall, where he did well there. But everybody else, there was almost nothing there. But behind the scenes, all we heard was really positive things about him. Like, this is a great player. He's a player that will make it into the first team at Tottenham. But every time he did, not just on loan, but every time he played for us in Europa League group stages, it was like this. He's so far beyond what the quality we need. And I remember a podcast we did with our good friend Windy, he does lots of. Actually, I mean, he used to talk about Spurs youth a lot, but he's a podcaster on his own right now. And we was doing a podcast, and he said, "I know this sounds silly, but we had Adebayor and we just signed Soldado, and this was 2012." And he said, "I think that Harry Kane will finish the season at Tottenham as our starting striker," and he was laughed out of the room. And that just goes to show how much faith the majority of Spurs fans had in him. He came into the side. Pochettino just started, and he just couldn't stop scoring. Every game he came in, he just wouldn't score. We had we done a pub where we used to watch the games. We used to call it a Harry Kane special. All of us used to bet on Harry Kane scoring 2 goals a game. And through that season, we were up loads of money. He just couldn't stop scoring.
It's just amazing, really, how he's done it. And I think it's
technique and perseverance is how he's done it. He's just constantly repeated the same things.
And he's got his head down, because I've heard things from inside the camp at Colney when he was at Norwich.
Yeah,
very quiet, kept himself to himself, didn't do the socialising thing, just worked. So fair play to Harry. Flav, I want to get onto this game now. What does this game mean to Tottenham? And is this a banana skin? What happens if Norwich City actually come to this incredible stadium and win against Tottenham?
I mean,
in the league,
I think if we lose, it's just further testament to how we feel currently. Really, was that a lot needs to change in order to. I want to give you what you want, which is we'd be devastated. I'm not saying. I would say if we played this game 9 times out of 10, Tottenham would win. I wouldn't have any worry about it at all. But you're asking me about whether or not how important it is. I don't think it is. Nothing that really happens between now and January, unless we lost every game, and that would be obviously catastrophic. But we're not going to do that. So we just find ourselves in a weird situation where we just need to to take each game as it comes and see sort of micro improvements in each game. I think we're being quite sensible about that. That said, I am going into this game thinking that this is a good tie for us because we do need to win. And if, like, regardless of the result in the Europa Conference League, which I've only just figured out that that's what it's called, such as it's honestly the worst competition I've ever seen in my life. It's a completely I hate it. But it's important to win because, you know, beating Leeds was good, winning against Norwich was good, and if we beat, you know, the game that as we're recording, we have a game in between, which is a bit awkward. But depending on how that result against Brentford goes, if we beat them and beat you, that's 3 games on the bounce, and we start to feel a bit more positive about things, and we can go into January and hopefully strengthen it. The thing is that every poor result puts Daniel Levy further over the barrel. Yeah. And for the first time in a long time, he's under pressure to actually spend. He's got Conte in, and Conte won't come without the premise that he can improve the squad. Daniel Levy has never speculated, really. He's only spent what he could recover in the Championship. Sorry, in the transfer window.
Yeah.
So if he does that, then if we don't get a great result, he needs to demonstrate his willingness to speculate on the playing side of the club, and he's done it with the stadium and he's done it with the training centre, but he's now got to do it with the players. It is a banana skin, but I do feel like we will win.
Interesting. We will get on to that. Flav, I really want to ask you, I do this on every opposition preview. I want to ask you for your opinion on Norwich City. So far this season, do you think we will survive? What do you think about us as a football club?
I didn't think you had a chance in hell of surviving before Dean Smith turned up. And even when Dean Smith was made manager, I didn't really think... I just thought you were going down, really. I mean, he's a good manager. He's done really well at Brentford. It was a bit unfortunate at Aston Villa. He lost Grealish and, you know, that run of... I know firsthand how difficult it is to replace someone like Grealish, as we had the same thing with Bale. And we were half the team, even though we signed half a team.
You did.
We signed 7 players, and, you know, they were all right. The vast majority of them did all right, but it just shows how important one proper megastar is. And Grealish was so important, and I knew that this was coming to them. So that doesn't define Dean Smith. What defines him is how well he did at Brentford and the fact that he got the Aston Villa job in the first place. So Norwich took him on, did it quite quickly, which was impressive. And then you've seen an upturn in form. I think you're unbeaten in 4, is that right? You drawn 3 and won 1?
Unbeaten in 3 now, and obviously we'll win against you. So then that will mean we're unbeaten in 4.
Obviously. So there you go. So you're unbeaten in 4. 6 points. That's 8 from 12. That's not relegation form. But the fact is I might get this wrong, but I think you're 3 points from safety now.
Well, I think the Leeds victory changed it. I think.
Right. So the fact is, Chris, is you are in a much better position than you were under Farke, right?
Yeah, that's good. Keep that up.
We were talking, so we do a podcast with James. So people who listen to this won't want to come and listen to a Spurs podcast, right? You know, they might do, but it'd be weird. It's like me listening to a Norwich or a Ipswich podcast or something. I'm never going to do that, right?
Don't swear on this channel.
Right, apology. I should have said anything else, but you know, I'm not going to do that. But you may want to come and listen to the James and Flav for Now podcast, which is about football generally. And we were talking about Norwich and Farke, and it was I basically said it was absolutely. I thought it was embarrassing, the fact that he was given that long. I appreciate your relationship with him and how good the football is and how well he done in the Championship and stuff. But you can't lose. How many games in a bounce did you lose?
Oh, mate.
Was it 8 or 9? Was it 7?
We have lost in the Premier League. I mean, and it was being tallied from last time as well, mate. It was, it was bad.
It was a lot, right?
Yeah, a lot.
And it's like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Because there are many opportunities or examples to see clubs that are finishing not only not getting relegated, but having a good go at the Premier League. But Norwich seemed to give up before it was even started. It was almost like the conversation wasn't like, what can we do in the Premier League? It was, how can we sorry, help me out. Consolidate. Yeah, probably. Consolidate. Was that right? Consolidate? Yeah. Is that right? Is that even a word?
I don't even know what you're trying. Consolidate?
Consolidate. Sorry, yeah. They're it's about how they can consolidate and bounce back next season. And it just, to me, if I was a Norwich fan, you're going week in, week out. You're going to see your team play. You can't live like that. You have to live. You have to give it a go. And the fact that he got so long this season, I just thought, like, where's the ambition? What are Norwich doing? What's Delia Smith up to? And so eventually, when he was sacked, it was like, yeah, that was the right idea. And you get Dean Smith in, and things are starting to change. And it may be a new manager bounce, or maybe Dean Smith knows more about managing in the Premier League than Farke did.
Interesting take, and always good to know that. Flav, I want to talk to you about now a beautiful, historical, iconic game, which was, of course, the last time we played at Tottenham at 3 Point Lane. It was then a glorious FA Cup clash. We won on penalties.
Yeah.
What do you remember of that one, or have you erased it from your memory by coincidence?
So, look, full disclosure, we were talking about this before, and I had erased it from my mind. I don't remember it at all. And it may have been a period under Jose Mourinho where all Spurs fans are so unexcited to watch Spurs that it was just another one of those. I think it was under Mourinho. I know that Vorm, and this is what summed it up, is that Vorm was brought back on loan because we had an injury to our backup keeper, I think, and Vorm came back in and he played and practically threw the ball into his own net. And it just sort of summed up the entire time of that during that period of watching Spurs under Jose Mourinho. It was awful. So, I mean, what you tell me? What's your experience? Was you there? Did you enjoy it?
It was, I mean, that Tim Krul moment. He had the names on the water bottle.
What was that? Sorry, because as Spurs fans, I don't remember that. So he had the names of the players that were going to take it.
Yeah, and which way they were going to go.
And he got it all right.
He got most of them right, didn't he? Because
he's a great penalty. He's a great,
and he almost saved that one against Newcastle because of the wet. It went into the back net. And of course, for the Norwich fans watching and listening, you'll remember that Josip Drmic scored in that game. Of course, the legend himself. Flav, I always ask this question for everyone that comes on. If you had to sign one Norwich player for Spurs in this January transfer window coming up, who would it be and why?
So the only reason I bring this up, and I've got full disclosure, I don't really watch other teams. I'm not a massive fan of football like most people are. I love Tottenham. I love the culture around Tottenham, and that's the thing that's my connection, my main connection to football.
Yeah.
So I don't spend a huge, like, Spurs don't win, or if Spurs draw, I don't watch Match of the Day, and I don't watch anything.
I wouldn't really watch football. If I was a Tottenham fan, I'd probably watch another sport as well.
Brilliant, thanks, Chris. So there's it's just one of them things. If Arsenal win, I won't watch Match of the Day. Like, even if Spurs win, just in case I catch a glimpse. Like, the fact that they're on this run at the moment has made it even more miserable. Yeah. But to say that it is the player that's always stood out to me when we've played Norwich in the last few times that we have, and I know Max Aaron's got linked with us, but it isn't him. It wouldn't have been him.
Okay.
It's Todd Cantwell.
Okay. Yes.
Right. And you told me that he's been in and out of the side, but I don't know. He looks technically gifted. He looks like he reads the game well. Yeah. We need a number 10. I feel like he'd probably play best as a number 10.
Yeah, well, mate, he scored a cracking penalty against the Tottenham fans were giving him grief. I don't know if you've seen that video where the Tottenham fans were giving him grief, calling him every name under the sun.
Because he's quite dirty, isn't he? He leaves a foot in
no
it.
way. Anyway,
Isn't
he sticks it in the top bins and then he gives it that to the Tottenham fans. That was just absolutely glorious.
Can I ask? Can I flip that on you? What player do you have that you think would improve Tottenham?
Ooh, no one's ever flipped it on me before.
Sorry.
Well, I do think both of those players, Max Aarons and Toddy, would work at Tottenham. Well, I was told the reason why Max didn't sign for Spurs is because Jose Mourinho said on the phone that he was too short. So Max told him where to go. So there you go.
I mean, we ended up signing Matt Doherty, who's honestly the worst footballer I've ever seen in my. So. Yeah, we've messed up there. What's your opinion, Matt Doherty? Because I can categorically say I'm better than him. I could do a better job at Spurs in my 40-year-old semi-drunk state. I could perform better for Spurs than Matt Doherty. He is toilet.
He reeks of a relegation dogfight. And that's as much as I can give him, I'm afraid. It's as simple as that. Flav, now let's get to the crescendo of this conversation. We've gone off on many tangents. This has been a whirlwind of an Oppo preview. Head to head from over the years, you guys are in front, unsurprisingly. We've won 24 games. You've won 32. We've drawn 18 times. So, crunch time now. We do this differently on TNC. What's your head saying for a score prediction? And what's your heart saying?
My head is saying 2-1 Tottenham. My heart is saying 4-1 Tottenham. I'm not going to. What do you want me to say? I'm not going to give Norwich. Do you want me to pick Norwich? Because that doesn't make any sense, does it?
I always do the same reaction for everyone. I kind of want them to say Norwich are going to get something from the game. Well, do you know what? I'm going to counteract that, Flav. My head is saying 1-1. My heart is saying a shithouse 1-0 win for the mighty Yellows. There you go.
I mean, if this is anything to you, I can see that also.
Can you? Can you actually?
I'd absolutely devastated if that happened. I just want to feel good. That's all. That's all you want from your team. And this is what I'm saying. But when I was talking about earlier about Norwich, But at the start of the season, it's like when seemingly the direction from the owners of the football club is that we don't mind going down. Like, how can you enjoy any of that? Like, that's why, Dean Smith coming in and you see an improvement that you should be hopeful. And if Norwich stay up, then perhaps you'll get some more ambition from your owners. And I don't know what the mood is like at Carrow Road, but I feel like they should be getting a lot more stick than they do.
When we stay up. Flav, thank you so much for jumping on the TNC opposition preview tonight. I know you are a very busy man indeed. And thank you so much to everyone for watching. As always, if you have enjoyed this video, do give it a massive thumbs up on YouTube. Go follow Flav on Twitter, Flav_Bateman, correct?
That's correct.
There you go. Give Flav a follow and give him some grief as well after the game, after we win. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and fingers crossed the next time I speak to you, lovely Yellows, will be after 3 gigantic points at 3 Point Lane on the Ball City.